All right, what's up, Ivy League fans? It's that time of the year, and you know that it means one thing if you're an Ivy League basketball player. It's time for the rematch. And I got news for you. Coming through the league as a player, there's two types of teams you face the second time. The guys who are already planning their spring break, and then you got those teams that want to play spoiler. They want to ruin your fun at the top. But now you've got teams that are fighting and clawing and trying to get their way into the Ivy League tournament. A lot of teams with 2 wins right in the middle of the pack, and a couple teams at the top that could separate themselves from the rest of the teams in the league. This weekend, talking about rematches, talk about a game with a lot of storylines as Princeton goes up to face Cornell in the Big Red. Now remember, the first time out, Cornell went up 18 at Jadwin before Princeton stormed back and Matt Alaco knocked down the biggest shot of his young career, the three-pointer at the buzzer on his birthday. Happy birthday to Matt Alaco, and what a moment and a win for Princeton basketball. Now, we know that it's going to be tougher for Princeton on the road at Ithaca, and Cornell has so many weapons. It all starts with Dean Knoll, Sarju Patel at the guard position. Kobe Dixon is a big who, by the way, had a game-winning layup against Brown last weekend, but he can really pass it from the high post. He can post up himself. And then you've got Keller Boothby shooting the basketball, obviously from the deep. And then just guys coming in one after another in waves for the Cornell Big Red. You got two teams, when you talk about Princeton and Cornell, that score around 82 points per game, amongst the top in the country. But Princeton is 5th in three-point shots made in the country, and they're 11th in assist-to-turnover ratio. So for Cornell, if they're going to play that fast pace, they've got to try to force misses from the perimeter and turnovers with their pressure and with their mixing it up of defenses. But I look for Tosan Ewoma to have a big game and bounce back from a performance he had against Yale where he only had 1 assist. Jalen Llewellyn was great in that game, 6 3-pointers, and he almost led a comeback of his own against Yale. But either way, this is going to be an exciting, high-scoring game up at Ithaca. Penn traveling up to New York City to play Columbia this weekend. Hey, maybe I can get some tickets to that one. I'll be in the city. Let's go. I'm looking for a huge outing again for Jordan Dingle from Penn. Man, has this sophomore been spectacular this season, coming off a huge 31-point game up at Harvard. There's just not enough good things you can say about him. He shoots the three. He's got the strong, shifty moves, great base, and an explosive athlete. He was a huge reason why they beat Harvard up at Harvard. But I also thought that the offensive rebounding for Penn was incredibly important in that game. If you're Columbia, you've got to box out. You can't take those defensive rebounds for granted because Penn is such a good offensive team at attacking those boards. Michael Moshkovitz as well as Jelani Williams are really physical, and when they can't get to it, they tap it back out and create new possessions for their team. Columbia on the offensive end, Liam Murphy. I love this kid. I mean, 6'7", can shoot it from deep, in the range, in the gym, in range type of player. And if Penn wants to win, they've got to identify him, run him off the line. Geronimo Rubio de la Rosa needs to be more of a impact player for the Columbia Lions, but he's been keyed on during league play. The tape is out. There's more of a scouting report against him, but he's an explosive player for the Columbia Lions. Need to establish Ike Nweke down low. He's got the turnaround jump shot in the post. He's got the 15-footer, and really, he's a high major player. He is a high major player who plays in the Ivy League, and he's not a guy you can just leave alone on the block. Look for Penn to bring some different looks, digging, double teaming, and forcing him to kick it out to Cameron Shockley Okeke and other three-point shooters like Liam Murphy. But that's how you've got to play if you're Columbia. Establish the big guy down low, establish him in the post, and then let that set up the rest of your offense from the three-point line. But this one's going to be a great one out of New York City, Saturday night. Well, what's better than that? Penn, Columbia. Watch it. Harvard travels down to Providence this weekend to play Brown, coming off that home loss against Penn. And I think a key storyline for this game is going to be the offensive rebounding of Brown, who really can attack the offensive rebounds. And Harvard gave up so many offensive rebounds to Penn a weekend ago, so they've got to clean that up. Now, Keno Lilly Jr. has established himself as one of the best guards in the league already. 23 points last weekend, and he's so shifty, but can really shoot the basketball. So Harvard really needs to guard him, needs to figure out how to slow him down. He, Paxson Wojcik, Tamanang Cho are a really tough triumvirate for the Brown Bears, and they can attack in different ways. Dump it down to Cho, let him operate at the high post, and get those shooters involved from downtown. Now, for Harvard, they're happy to have Mason Forbes back. He's got to have an impact in the paint in terms of blocking shots, because we know that Jalen Gainey for Brown is going to do the same thing on the other side of the basketball. Everything goes through Noah Kirkwood, as it should for Harvard. The versatile 6'7" point forward. You can play him at center. He does it all for Harvard, and his decision-making was superb again against Penn. He's got to get the other guys involved. Cale Catchings was good last week in shooting the three. Lucas Sakota is coming on strong. So for Harvard, they've got to get those other guys involved. It can't just be Noah Kirkwood, because the Brown Bears defense is too good.